Okay, I remember as a 10 or 12-year-old, I grew up in Wagga, and that great cluster of 3-year-olds, octagonal, Saintly, Falente, nothing like a Dane. And the amount of clashes they had, from late 95 into 96, that 96 Australian Derby where the 4 of those horses really kicked away. And I think it set up for me a love of collisions and of derbies where you get your 1, your 2 or 3 or 4 horses of a generation who clash time and time again, and you take one horse aside and your mates take another horse aside, and there's a lot of banter in the lead up, and you had those 4 horses for a few years, and then not long after that we had Reduced Choice and Testarossa, who had some great clashes over those 6 or 12 months as 2 and 3-year-olds from the Blue Diamond into the Caulfield Guineas, and then you had Londra on to fire after that. In more recent years you've had your Black Caviar and your Hay List, and those sorts of horses where you get more than one at any given time. They go to the races time and time again over a couple of years ideally. It creates that sense of theatre, that sense of passion and excitement in the lead up. But for me that started in 95, 96 with your octagonal, Saintly, Falente, Nothing Like a Dane, and some of their fantastic clashes. Rivalry in all sports fantastic, whether it's rugby league or AFL or whatever you're into. It's great for the sport, and it's great for the people involved in the sport, and to get new people involved in the sport as well to create that rivalry and to take your side and to see how it all plays out.
Brendan and Joe Lindsay's Cambridge stud in New Zealand continues to grow its band of brood mares and boost its stallion ranks for future generations, while yearlings produced at the famous nursery continue to sell well and perform on the track. Katy Smith is the yearling manager that brings it all together at sale time, and here she explains the huge amount of work it takes to take even one thoroughbred through the sales ring.
We kind of start mid-September going into October. We've already kind of brought them through the boxes during the winter and got them to wear rugs for the first time and everything like that. But we do an intensive 5 days initially in a couple of mobs at a time, getting the rugs back on them, getting them into a sanyard, wearing them, and then working towards getting them out into a paddock, wearing them, bitting them and everything like that. And once we've got them all to that same stage, then we really kick on with the preparation.
And you can see even when they're parading, it's really quite a strenuous time. They are babies, really, aren't they?
Yeah, and I think that's what some people forget sometimes. They are only yearlings. They're like a toddler, and they each have their quirks, and they get tired. They don't want to do it some days, and we're just asking a lot of them, but the majority of them take it really well. You soon learn which people click with individual horses, and we've got different ages, different levels of experience, and we're trying to tailor that to not only grow the horses to get to the sales, but to grow the staff as well. It's quite nice when you see someone leading a quiet horse at the beginning of the preparation and being able to manage something a little bit more challenging at the end. You get as much out of that as seeing them sell for good money whilst we get to Karaka.
It takes a few staff members, to polish the hooves and, put a bit of white on their white fetlocks and brush them and do all that. I assume there's a great routine in place.
We kind of start a couple of days before, so we'll kind of go through the whole list of horses that are selling on any particular day, and then we've seen them, the guys at home parading the horses. We've seen that different members of staff, because obviously we get ring-ins as well, and that introduces a few different people into the team, see who's got on well, who's experienced enough to take an individual horse through there. But then, like you say, we've got a couple of different final grooming teams that some of these girls have done numerous seasons for us and know just how to put those proper final touches to the horses so that they just look their best. You get someone nice that knows the horse, they can hold on to them whilst they're getting final groomed, just keep them nice and calm as possible before, because they have no idea what they're about to do next.
and there's a real bond that develops, isn't there?
Well, that's it. We're looking after them for a young age. The people at the farm, they're following them through from when they were born all the way through to the ring and them being sold, and everyone follows them after that as well. It's not like we stop thinking about them as soon as they're sold. Everyone's keen to see how they go on a race. But yeah, you get attached to them. It's hard not to sometimes, and we've had scenes, people upset by the time the horse comes and goes to the ring and is sold. Yes, you're happy that they've sold for good money, but you're losing them as well at the same time.
But then for the horse, they suddenly wind up out of that lovely calm of the box and they're heading into the pre-parade area, and it's really scary, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think because they do trust their handler, that's why we do get a good result going through those stages. They've gotten to know the person, so they're putting their trust in you and their faith in you to say, no, it is okay, you can come with me and I'll keep you safe almost. And you can give them a bit of a scratch on the way around, you can talk to them, and just reassure them that they know you and it is going to be okay.
What does it feel like, when the bidding's happening and you're concentrating on the horse? Are you aware of what the bidding is, or are you more just focused on the horse?
I know I do individually try to, because you quite like to, if you're following the bids, you can try and give a stand up to the opposing bid to try and encourage that next bid and everything. But it does take practice and it does take experience. Like, we had a couple of the young guys, they were like, well, what am I doing? And you can say, you can stand them up if you're happy to, but if you're not, just keep walking, and in time it just kind of clicks almost.
And then we came back, we followed this little filly back out, and she just put her head straight down. And that's a really good sign, isn't it? She wasn't sort of running around the box going, oh my goodness, what happened? She was just, I want my feed, which is, I guess, that transfers to the racing stable life.
Yeah, exactly. We've kind of taught them to be individual horses, that they can go out and walk on their own, to, parade on their own, and they don't need a mate next to them. And like you say, they've put that trust in the person taking them up through the ring. But then we do prepare things back down here as well. The horse leaves its box, it's not like anything stopped. We're making sure they've got feed to come back into, they've got some grass and some hay. So, they have gone through a slightly stressful experience, but they come back and they like to put their head in the feed bin and just be reassured that they're back in their box and everything can be settled again. If you've got the passion for it and you're willing to put in the effort, it's a very rewarding job. You can take a photo when they first come in, and then you can compare it to the sales photos, and they're just different animals. You forget what they looked like in the beginning, and that's the biggest thrill I get, is seeing them transform and then seeing them go on to be good racehorses in the future.
Such an expert operation, and great to see the work that goes into each and every horse raised and sold by Cambridge Stud. That's it for this week's Bred to Win. Coming up next week, join me again as we continue the countdown to the Australian Stud and Stable Staff Awards. And my own story of selling my first pinhooked yearling through the Inglis Classic sale, and the time and emotion that goes into it all behind the scenes. That and much more next week. I'm Caroline Searcy. I look forward to seeing you then.
Bred to Win, brought to you by Inglis. Don't miss round 2 of the Easter Yearling sale, Riverside Stables, July 5.